Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Darkwoods Paranormal. I, of course, am your humble host, Gabriel Von Graves, and what an intro movie you put together for us tonight, Raven.
Thank you.
Every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and the people who meet along the way. Here at Darkwoods Paranormal, we explore haunted places, unexplained phenomenon, cryptids, folklore, and the mysteries that continue to challenge what we think and know. Our mission isn't to convince you what to believe, it's to ask questions, explore the evidence, and have meaningful conversations with the wonderful people who've experienced the unexplained firsthand. Joining me, as always, is my incredible co host, Raven. How are you doing today?
I am super excited for tonight's episode. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy we're here. How are
Awesome.
you, Gabriel?
I'm good, thank you. Well, Raven brings insight, curiosity, and a passion for the paranormal that helps every investigation, every conversation become completely unforgettable. Before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Unbox Media LLC, your source of professional podcast production, commercial production, media consulting, business consulting, branding, social media content, and creative storytelling. And we, of course, want to say a special thank you to Dark Realm TV, available on Roku, Fire TV, and bringing together outstanding paranormal programming from creators around the world. Thank you, guys. And of course, if you're ever visiting Milwaukee, Wisconsin, stop by our friends at Cigar Bar. Shake your cigar bar, enjoy your outstanding cigar, incredible food, drinks, and experience one of Wisconsin's most famously haunted locations. Tell Bob that Darkwood Paranormal sent you and Raven Knight says hi. Tonight's guest knows exactly where his journey began. On the evening of May 2019, while driving an 18-wheeler along Highway 84 between Abilene and Coleman, Texas, Matt says he witnessed something that forever changed the course of his life. A towering jet black creature standing approximately 8 feet tall along the roadside. For nearly a minute, he watched what he believed was a Bigfoot. Many people would have dismissed the experience. Not Matt. He did the opposite. He committed himself to finding answers. Over the past several years, he spent countless hours investigating, reporting sightings, studying habits and behavior, learning tracking techniques, documenting evidence, and collaborating with respected researchers across the county. Today, he serves as Bigfoot investigator with the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization's Texas Division and as a standing team member of Bigfoot investigator and researcher with Squatching Florida Research and Exploration. His investigative philosophy is inspired by renowned Dr. Jeff Medium, who once said, "Discovery leads to knowledge, and knowledge leads to new discovery." So true. Tonight, we're here about that unforgettable encounter, discussing the evidence he's collected over the years, exploring what he learned in the field, and ask one of the biggest questions in cryptozoology. And you know, Raven, I'm a skeptic. Could Bigfoot truly exist? Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome Matt Lankford. Matt, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're honored to have you here on Darkest Paranormal, and we consider you a friend here, and I've been looking forward to this. How are you doing? Please introduce yourself to our audience, Matt.
Yes, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. And Raven. Great people, y'all. I met these two in Kentucky at the
Hmm.
end of May at the Kentucky Bigfoot Festival in Stanton, Kentucky. Uh, and we had a nice conversation. And y'all said, we got to get you on here, and we're going to talk about this. I am. I'm here. I'm here in Central Texas. I'm about 70 miles from the geographical center of Texas. So take the bullseye, north, south, east, and west. You got me. This is a big state, y'all. I do I do probably 95% or more of my Bigfoot research uh, right here in Texas, and I've done it all over Texas in different parts actually. But less than 2 hours from here is where I have my four hot spots where I have found tracks of six different individuals right here in the Lone Star State. East Texas, very famous for Bigfoot sightings, uh, and then South Texas, down in the South Texas Hill Countries, uh, is where most people relate Bigfoot to Texas. Um, but here in Central Texas, they're cutting through here too, y'all. They're cutting through here too. Anyway, so I
So,
appreciate you having me on.
I want to go back to the beginning. We met you, like you were saying, at the Bigfoot Festival in Stanton, Kentucky, which was an amazing
Absolutely.
event, by the way. We were not even prepared for the amount of people that came through that festival. The amount of love that people in Stanton, Kentucky have for Bigfoot is insane. It was probably 20,000 people at this festival, and yet out of everyone that came up and spoke to us, you stood out to me the most. Like you came, you told me this amazing story about your experience and what you pulled, which we'll talk about, some of the evidence that you found. But you came up to me, you told me the story, and I said, "We need this man on our show." That's pretty much what happened. I said, "We need to really talk to this person, have him on the show, and let him tell his experience to everybody else."
Absolutely.
So that being said, I mean, okay, Matt, let's
Okay.
go back to the day. Can you take us to the day that
Okay.
everything changed for you?
Okay. And it literally was an OMG moment. Shock and awe. I was like Gabriel. I was a skeptic. Bigfoot was not on my radar in life. He wasn't. They weren't. And and I do call them a species. For several reasons. And we're a species, so there's no disrespect to this species. Um, and this is how it all started. Literally, I was a fuel hauler. I drove an 18 wheeler for a lot of years, and I don't anymore, but I did back in 2019. And as a fuel hauler, most of my deliveries were Texas and New Mexico and all over Texas. Texas is like it's like a country all by itself, y'all. It's huge, huge. Anyway, but on this particular day, May 20th, 2019, uh, I had went from San Angelo, Texas, to Abilene, Texas, which is about an hour and a half from here, to get a load of fuel. And like I said, it was the 18 wheeler, so I would deliver everywhere and anyone. But I was taking this fuel down south on Highway 84 to Coleman, Texas. It's a load that I did off and on for actually a couple of years. Uh, but on this particular day, it was just a normal load. Okay, just doing my job, and uh, and I have to add in here because this is very important on what I was doing. Uh, 2 days earlier, on May the 18th, which was a Saturday, uh, we woke up here in the San Angelo area and even the Abilene area and everywhere in between to tornado warnings. 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, big supercells. And I was up. I was off on the weekends. Of course, tornado warnings, and the thing passed. As it passed over us on the other side of town, on the north side of San Angelo in the Bradford School District area, there was a touchdown there. And there were quite a few homes that were destroyed, and and that tornado just, the system just kept moving east, northeast, like they will, and it moved on. 30, 35 miles from here is Ballinger, Texas. Two tornadoes touched down in Ballinger. Did quite a bit of damage there, and then the storm just kept moving to the east northeast, and it was getting closer to the Coleman, Texas area. And I'm staying up on the TV and I'm watching all this like we all would, and I had friends there, had people I knew there just from what I did for a living, and I'm watching it, and I remember that they had come over the TV and said that storm spotters are reporting a large wedge tornado,
Hmm.
possibly on the ground uh, near Coleman, Texas, near at Silver Valley, Texas, which is maybe 10, 12 miles north of Coleman. Uh, and I was like, oh my God, God bless them, right? And I stayed up with the storm for a little while after that, and then it just kind of moved on and lost a lot of its intensity. So these were really mean storms that came in Saturday morning, May the 18th. And on Sunday night, it was just a ritual, something you do. I called my dispatch in Midland, Texas, just to find out, what's my first load of the day on Monday. So I knew how I was going to kind of get my week started. And they said, yeah, you're going to leave San Angelo and go to Abilene. You're going to get fuel. You're going to go deliver in Coleman at this store. Then you're going to go back to Abilene, get another load of fuel, and you're going to take it down to San Angelo. And then we'll kind of go from there with the rest of your day. And I said, okay. And that was that. That's what I was doing. And so I hung up with them. And I remember shortly after that, I thought, oh, I'm going to be going by Silver Valley, Texas. That's where the large wedge tornado was possibly on the ground. I'm going to be looking for tornado damage, right? So,
Yeah.
we all get amped up on that kind of stuff, what the power of
Sure.
Mother Nature. And
Mhm.
it's just, and that's what I was doing. So I got loaded in in Abilene. And I took off and I headed south on Highway 84 toward Coleman. And as I was getting closer to Silver Valley, I'm looking on both sides of the highway. I'm looking up in the hills. I'm looking up in the trees. And I'm looking for tore up trees and stuff, right? I want to see storm damage. I do. I didn't want to see anybody's homes tore up, but I did want to see the other damage, out in the middle of nowhere stuff.
Mhm.
And there was one home right off of the highway that was tore up real bad, and there was a huge tree there. It was all jacked up. You can see where this little touchdown was there. But so I did see some damage, and God bless them. But I'm looking up in the hills and I'm looking up in the trees heading south in my 18 wheeler, and I came over this rise as I was getting closer to Silver Valley on the highway, and it was kind of a slow grade down toward this creek area. And having gone back many times over the years, just recreating, figuring out times and distances, and from what I saw, uh, I was 6/10 of a mile from this creek. And like I said, it was just a low grade down to this creek area, and tons of trees, tons of oak trees and underbrush. And today I call it the jungle because it's really thick there. Really dark woods, paranormal. Really dark woods,
Nice.
really dark woods in this area. And uh, anyway, when I came over the rise, up near the trees before the creek, just off the side of the highway, and I mean literally right off the pavement, I thought I saw a black bull. Yeah, I didn't think cow. If you look at bulls and cows, you can tell them. You can tell them at a distance. I just thought black bull because of just this black bulky on the side of the highway. And I remember I looked back up in the hills, I looked back in the trees and looking for tornado damage, and I looked back at this black bull, what I thought was a black bull, and it moved. It moved off, from left to right about 6 or 8 feet, and it stopped. And when it moved, it kind of had this kind of undulation is the word I always use, kind of a wobble to it, and it just stopped. And in my brain, I thought, oh, it's a hog, like somebody's big, prized 600-700 pound black hog. Uh, but just the way it moved, I thought it was a black hog. And I remember I looked back up in the hills and trees again, and I looked back at this hog because I'm close in distance, mind you, coming down this slow grade toward this creek area. And when I looked back at the hog, he was walking.
Hmm.
He was walking. And I thought, oh, it's a guy. It's kind of a big guy, but it's a guy. And I remember I looked in the hills and the trees again because I'm getting close to this area. And I'm getting closer and I'm looking at this big guy. And I thought, what is he doing wearing an Arctic suit, like what you'd wear in the North Pole or the South Pole?
Right.
There's a particular look when people are wearing an Arctic suit uh, with the hood on and just the shoulders, and just there's a demeanor humans wear when they're wearing them. It's not natural to be in those things, but that's what I thought. And this was May 20th, 2019, and it was hot and it was muggy. There was no wind to speak of. It was one of those days that you step out of your vehicle and you just kind of start sweating, and I'm like, what is he doing wearing an Arctic suit? So I remember I looked at the road check the highway so you're not running off. I check the highway and I'm looking back at him and I'm closing this distance. And I've talked about this at some point. My foot came off of my accelerator. In my 18 wheeler, I drove a Freightliner and my cruise control was out. And it ended up being out for a total of about 2 weeks before they finally got it fixed. And that sucks when you drive 400 or 500 miles a day and you got to use a foot feed on an 18 wheeler, y'all. And all truck drivers that have been through it, they know what I'm talking about. It sucks. Anyway, but at some point, my foot had come off the accelerator. And looking at him and wondering what's he doing in an Arctic suit. And I'm closing this distance. I'm traveling south and he's moving to the right. He's moving west away from the highway, from left to right. And he's walking and he never ran. When I looked at him and thought, what is he doing wearing an Arctic suit? And looking at the highway and looking back at him, at some point, y'all, it had stepped over like a 3.5, 4 foot privacy fence on private to private. I didn't see that, but at some point, having gone back into where he went, he stepped over this fence. I didn't see that. I wished I would have. And then I do, but I didn't see that. And this is just me just speaking what I saw. Okay. And that's what I've done every time I've told this story. I just tell it like it is. And so he had stepped over the fence at some point, but at that point, when I'm looking at him and I'm getting closer and I'm literally just a few hundred yards, and you got to think about this, a couple of hundred yards is not as far as it sounds. People think of a football field. Okay. A couple of hundred yards is not that far. It really isn't. And I realized that this guy in this Arctic suit, this isn't a guy in an Arctic suit. And my mind's trying to wrap around this. Okay. And it was kind of at that point that my brain said Bigfoot. The word Bigfoot hit me in the head. We'd all heard about it growing up. It wasn't on my radar in life. I talked to you about that, Gabriel. It wasn't. And somebody would have told me they saw Bigfoot. I would have asked them, what have you been smoking? Y'all, come on. And but I saw it and I watched it. And he was walking left to right. And literally the word Bigfoot went into my brain. Looking at this, and I feel like it was a male. It had the complete aura as a male. It didn't have never in 7 years the word female went through my head on this thing. It was like, I'm looking at this massive 7.5, 8 foot jet black male Bigfoot. And I've talked about this and I'll explain it. I estimate him at 900 to 1,000 pounds. And that's a big boy. That is a big boy, and he was massive. And for people that are listening and people that are on the fence, and Gabriel, you're one of them, brother, to see something like this, it puts you in shock and awe. And I've talked about trying to remember the story when I realized this isn't a man and this is Bigfoot. My brain started taking pictures, and I guess that's kind of the shock and awe factor. You don't remember every little detail, but you do remember a lot. It's like snapshots, okay? And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at the highway, and I'm looking at him, and I've talked about it. I probably look like an ostrich looking at the road, and I didn't want to run off the highway, and my foot did. At some point, it did come off the accelerator. So I'm watching him walk left to right, and this guy is massive. And I remember, and I do use this in my brain constantly, and I have from that moment, from his back on this profile. I'm looking at the right profile of him. From his back to the front of his chest was probably 2.5 feet thick. Wow. 2.5 feet thick. I mean, and he was that's the number I'm comfortable with. Okay. And his head was big in his profile, and he's walking, and he's got this slouch, this forward lean to him, and his arms are, he's walking, And I've been asked, did he have long arms? A lot of people say they're down to their knees or even further. And I don't know. My brain didn't register that. I just know that his arms, what my brain did register was his arms. His arms were huge. They were as big as my chest. And he had this walk about him. He never ran this whole time. Uh, and his arms were as big as my chest. And on the right side of his face, and I always get excited. I'm sorry if I get off track, y'all. Everybody, please be
You're okay.
patient. It just gets me every time, y'all. Um, I can see the right side of his face, and in my brain, I'm thinking that it had a very small face, and I could see the skin, and it was a gray. It wasn't a dark gray, and it wasn't a light gray, but it was a gray. And I've heard people use the word battleship gray. Okay, that is a pretty fair description. It was gray, and I thought, and that looked weird to me. Well, as we know now, it's because I was seeing part of the face, and the rest of it was just covered in hair. So, and mind you, I'm in shock and awe, and I'm looking at this thing, and as he's walking, he had taken a step. And when he's walking, he's heading for the tree line. Okay, um, he took a step, and then on one of those steps, his right leg, uh, it had a kind of a shake to it, like maybe the way he stepped. And I've described it uh, when a horse will stand there and all of a sudden a horse will quiver all over. We've all seen that. It's
Hmm.
just something they do. When this step happened, I remember kind of his right thigh and toward his butt area just had that quiver. So I don't know if it's how it stepped, if it stepped in a hole. I don't know. We've all done that as humans, but it's just something my brain remembers. Okay. And the hair on him uh, was probably an inch and a half all over his body. Uh, his head, a lot of hair, all jacked up, all messed up. And to me, he had big arms. And I've talked about this. His arms looked weird. His forearms looked weird, big.
Hmm.
And, going through research and listening to witness testimonies and all the things that we've done, and 1,000 of those, it was probably the hair in the descriptions. A lot of people that get these looks at them, they have all this hair on the forearm area that just hangs down on some of these witness reports. Okay,
Hmm.
so all of his arms were big, and if you had this hair coming down too, for me, his arms looked weird big. And I've
Yeah.
said like Popeye the Sailor Man. It
Right.
did. And then his legs were bigger than his arms. This guy was massive. And as he's walking from left to right, and I'm coming down the highway, this whole event, I will say it right now, the whole event lasted less than a minute. I have timed it, don't know how many times, many, 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 many times. Always come up with 52, 53 seconds, less than a minute. This whole event happened. Uh, but as I got closer, when I realized what I'm looking at is a Bigfoot and I'm in shock and awe, it was that last 22, 23 seconds that I realized that what I was looking at. And mind you, my foot had come off the accelerator. So I have slowed down. I'm 80,000 pounds. It's not a giant grade going down. I might have been doing 50, 55 when I went by him. That's just a guess.
Hmm.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him, y'all, out the front passenger side of my windshield, and then eventually out my passenger door window. And I've said 7.5, 8 foot tall, and I have a reason for that. When you're driving an 18 wheeler and you're sitting behind the steering wheel, your eyeballs are about 9 feet off the pavement, sitting behind the wheel of an 18 wheeler. And at the size of him, the whole time, that's why I'm estimating 7.5 and 8 foot tall. I'm sitting up here at about the 9 foot level. So this is my educated guess, and I stick with it. Uh, I sent you pictures uh,
Yep.
of Patty, the 1967 Patterson Gimlin film, and I'll say it right now. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of controversy going on with that, and I'm telling y'all right now, she's a real creature. I promise you, because what I saw resembled her so much, only he was bigger. Uh, if you can bring up the picture, uh, Raven,
Um,
of can you bring up pictures?
I can bring up pictures. So I don't have the picture of Patty. Hopefully though the people that are watching and listening
Okay,
will
that
know
we'll remember. Okay, okay, that's
will
fine.
know what you're talking about when it comes to
Yes, you will.
that
Yes,
film.
you
But
will.
I do have other pictures. I
Okay,
do have other pictures,
okay,
Matt. I have the
uh,
pictures of the handprint whenever you're ready for those.
okay. Um, and a lot of people that have seen them will probably see them again, and those that haven't seen them are going to be astonished. But in the 1967 Patterson Gimlin film, uh, where Patty had walked that 59 seconds of film, very shaky, and they've been able to stabilize that. They haven't added anything to the film. Uh, there's a man named Isaac Tian that was able to put in an AI system, and he used, I can't even remember how many copies the of the film, the original 6 millimeter film from 1967. And all of these old copies, they gain scratches and they gain glare.
Mhm.
They get degraded every time it's recopied. And that was the old reel to reel films, right?
Yep.
And so Isaac Tian was able to get all these different copies, and through this AI system, he was able to remove all these digital scratches, most of them, and almost all the glare. And what you see today on that recreation, nothing was added to that film, and it was stabilized to the max. It's like one of us sitting there with a camera on a tripod filming her today. It
Mm.
is amazing footage. If you haven't seen it, pull it up.
Yeah,
Pull it up.
definitely check
Uh,
that.
you can see everything. You can see the muscle. You can see the calf muscles contracting in the steps. Everything. You can see her toes grab, and it's very important that I say that because with some of these prints that I have found, you can see in the print that was left behind where there has been a
Like heel.
grab.
Mhm.
The way they step, and it almost looks like a human foot. It does, but they're not human. There's a big difference. Uh, and so, getting back to, I call him the big boy. I do. Uh, 7.5, 8 foot tall, jet black, 900 to 1,000 pounds. In the Patterson Gimlin film, where Roger Patterson hit his knees on the other, across the creek in the sandbar, and where Patty's trackway was, there were researchers that had come out just within days of this 1967 event, and there were researchers there for weeks on this thing. And Peter Byrne, legendary researcher, legendary man, um, they were able to try to recreate for where Patty had walked and where Roger Patterson had filmed. There were there were logs, there were trees, and there was a distance of her trackway, and they were able to mathematically try to calculate her height, and they came up with 87 and a half inches. It's called the grayscale. They used a man of known height. His name is Hoskins, and Hoskins was a man of known height of about somewhere around 6 foot tall. And there's a picture of Patty in the grayscale. If people haven't seen it, please look it up. It'll blow your mind. It blew my mind. 87 and a half inches is 7 foot 3.5.
Wow.
And they put Hoskins, yes, they took a photograph of Hoskins standing in her trackway from the frame. No, there's a series of the frames where she's walking on that pathway. 7 foot 3.5, y'all. And Dr. Jeff Meldrum, you mentioned Gabriel. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, rest in peace. Everybody that's watching this, we all know he passed away in September last year. I miss him. I take him in the woods with me all the time. I promise.
Mm.
Mm.
Great man. He stood behind these numbers, the 87 and a half inches tall. And then I remember his presentation in 2021 at the Texas Bigfoot Conference. He talked about the muscle mass
Yeah.
that they tried to calculate her weight through measurements because of distance, how thick she was, and the muscle mass and what muscle weighs. And they were able to try to calculate her weight, and they put her somewhere between 700 and 800 pounds. Okay,
Wow.
you think about this, and when you see a man of known height in the grayscale overlay picture, she's 7'3.5", 800 pounds. You can see it. You can see it. I about fell off my couch first time I saw it. I was like, yep. And the one that I saw was a male. He had the complete aura as a male, and he was bigger than Patty. This guy was 7.5, 8 foot tall, with me looking at him from the my eyeballs at 9 foot, y'all. And then he was bigger than her. He outweighed her probably by 150 or 200 pounds. If
Wow.
she was 700 or 800 pounds, he was 900 to 1,000. And I will go to my grave with those numbers. I'm very comfortable with them. I know what I saw was massive. It was stupid. It was cartoonish. How can that be on the planet? And it blew my socks off, Gabriel. I'm telling you, buddy. You just have to see one. And I know there's a lot of people that are skeptics, and that's fine. Uh, when you see them, when you see them, it changed my life. It changed my life in a microsecond. He was walking, and as I came around, I got this really good look at his profile and his head. But as I'm driving, and this angle that he's walking, he covered 75 yards before he hit a tree line. Never saw him cross the fence. I went back a month later. The grass was above my knee. Uh, a month later, I went back on June the 19th uh, of 2000. I went back a month later. I never saw his feet, you know, and there's a 90-degree kick when they walk. The research is there. What's left in the footprint morphology from these casts, you can't fake it. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he was the world's leading, and there were others before him too. Dr. Grover Krantz, they knew this was a living, breathing creature. The morphology left in the cast proves it. You can't debunk that. You can't debate that, and you can't fake it. You can't take a wood stomper and make people try. They try to make tracks and fool people,
Hmm.
and that's sad that people are doing that. But the actual tracks that are left, all researchers will tell you. Y'all had Charlie Raymond on here from Kentucky Bigfoot last week. Charlie will tell you you
Amazing.
can't fake a real track. Charlie's a great man, great researcher. And everybody that's listening that knows this too. You can't fake a real track. You can't. And once you learn how to find them and you start learning how to put yourself in the right place, you'll find them. And I know I have. As I'm passing this big male, I got a real good look at his back. On this Monday morning, it was at 9:35 a.m. The sun was in the east. It was up. It was 9:35 a.m. And he's walking through this lime green grass. We had a lot of rain that year. We had a tornado come through that area just 2 days earlier.
Hmm.
The grass was just this bright lime green, and y'all know that color I'm talking about. And he was jet black, and he popped. He popped. That sun had him like he was in a spotlight, Gabriel. I was like, and people have told me, they were like, Matt, you got the $1,000,000 look. You did. And I did. For me personally, I did. For 22 seconds, I knew what I was looking at. And this whole event lasted almost a minute. When I first came over the ridge on this highway, and I'm looking at that creek area, and I think I'm seeing a black bull beside the highway. Beyond this jungle on the other side of the creek, I remember a yellow flashing light. And it was like, and there was a road crew there when this whole event happened, and I went by. There was a sawhorse with the yellow flashing lights, and there was a road crew there. And I remember they had a white pickup, and there was 3 or 4 guys. They had on like the orange safety vest,
Yeah.
and they had a trailer, and on that trailer was a wood chipper. So I guess in my mind, looking back, maybe they were there cleaning up some of that storm debris from the storms on Saturday when people push it off to the shoulders. Maybe they were just chipping up wood, and I've been asked, were they chipping wood? I don't know. I just my mind took that picture of these gentlemen, and they might have just been there taking a break. I don't know, but I do remember seeing that. As I'm passing him, I get a real good look at his back. And you hear people all the time say 4 foot shoulders. Some people say 5 foot wide shoulders. 4 foot. I'm solid. I'm solid with 4 foot. That is my estimate. Massive shoulders. And as I'm coming around him, I'm talking about this big head in his profile. But as I'm coming around him, and he's walking toward that tree line, he's walking with a purpose, y'all. He's pissed.
Mhm.
He got caught out in the open. He's heading for the tree line, and the sun had him lit up. But as I'm coming around those shoulders, these trap muscles right here, from out here on these shoulders, come up to where I estimate about where our ears are, the middle of our ears, and it's their heads. From a lot of witness testimony, their heads are kind of set forward. Okay, um, from the back, it looked like a small pyramid, not a pointed head, more of a rounded head. It looked like a small pyramid. And that's how I describe it. Massive. His shoulders did not come down to a small taper like a bodybuilder. And I've described this guy as Arnold Schwarzenegger times three on steroids. He was big, he was massive, and uh, his waist did not come down narrow. It was just a slight, like where the armpits are area. It just slightly tapered in, and
Mhm.
he was thick. He was big, and his butt. I've said this, and it's the best way I can try to describe it, because this boy had back. He had a big butt. It reminded me, a good way of describing. I ain't lying. It's like if you put two horses' butts next to each other. That's how big his butt was. I mean, this guy was huge, y'all. It's something my brain took a picture of. I could see his spine, and they do. They have all the musculature that we do in their back, the big muscles. I couldn't see all the fine detail muscles. You know, I'm not that close, but I'm close enough. You can see the big muscles that we can all see, and I can see them moving. It was breathtaking. It was amazing, and it was intimidating. It was scary to see him. And I've said it. I don't know what I would do if I'd have been outside of my tractor trailer and saw him. I'd have probably just died of a heart attack right there. And being in the safety of that big rig is still scared the crap out of me. I promise you, it's breathtaking. And I've said it too. Yeah, I feel like I just want to sue every government on the planet. Why haven't they told us that these things are out here? And they are. And there's a lot of people that are watching tonight that have seen them, and they know they're real. And that's really what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to get our stories out to let people be aware. When you're going out in the woods and stuff, people don't get killed by them. People don't get ripped to pieces by them. And I guess maybe it has happened. I don't know, because they're more than capable of doing whatever they want to do. Uh, I'm sorry, and I got off track again. I do. I get amped up. Uh, it's a bad habit of mine. Sorry, I got
No,
I got
you're doing
ADHD.
I
I
love it,
do.
man. I
I
love
know
it.
I do. Yes,
I
I
love it,
do.
sir.
I do. I get amped up.
So, with your description, I can actually feel you in the truck and you
great.
looking over
Mhm.
this thing. When a person, at least I know for personal experience, when I see something that is not normal, you know it instantly. Your body just tells you, I'm witnessing something that isn't supposed to be here. Did that happen to you?
I did. Like I said, it was shock and awe. The boogeyman's real,
Hmm.
and he is, y'all. And growing up here in Texas, we'd all heard about Bigfoot and stuff like that. We all did around the country, and
Right?
and that was as far as that went. What we were afraid of down here was the goat man, and
Yeah. The goat man.
it was the goat man. And when I was a little kid, and stuff growing up, but and the goat man, we know now that's the Lake Worth monster out of
Mm.
Lake Worth, Texas, near Fort Worth, the Dallas Fort Worth area. And there were a couple of hundred witnesses on this thing, y'all.
Mm.
And some people described it as looking like a goat. And I try to make sense of that. I don't know if I can see horns coming out of something's head like that, but uh, it makes me wonder, like us as people sometimes, you know, Bigfoot, they don't keep their hair, you know. And if they come out of water, whatever, like we do, you come out of a swimming pool and your hair's drying, yeah, it may end up looking like you got a pair of horns on top of your head, right? I don't know. But we were scared of the goat, man. Not
Yeah.
Bigfoot. Getting back, I'm sorry. I told you,
I
you got to
love it.
watch me.
I love it.
Getting back to this sighting in 2019. Um, like I said, he walked with a purpose. He was pissed. He had an attitude. A lot of people talk about autism and mental retardation with some of the characteristics that they have seen, and me too, And no disrespect meant at all.
Right.
Uh, but there. I've described it like if you go into a big Walmart supercenter and you got big double doors on each end, and you come into double doors, and you look down toward the other double doors down there, and there's a family that comes in and say they have a young adult, that has mental retardation. We know that. We know that from a distance. We don't have to go down there and ask them. We can sense it, Gabriel, like you just said. You can sense certain things, and we know even across the distance of a Walmart that God bless that young man. He has mental retardation or whatever, and it was just an aura. This thing put off, and it was pissed. And I use that phrase because it moved like it didn't get its way. It got caught in the open, and it had to go back to the woods. And I've been asked why. What do you think it was there right next to? And it was literally. I took another researcher to this location. We're going to talk about her in a minute, y'all. She's a badass. Um, I took her there and was able to explain and show her where this thing was. And I've stood where this thing has stood many times. And like I said, it covered about 75 yards before it hit the wood line. And I got this real good look at his back. I could see his spine. I could see his butt crack, his legs, his shoulders in motion. He was pissed. We're looking at his profile and coming around. He was pissed. He got caught in the open. And it is my belief that when I thought it was a bull on the side of the highway, because having been in this spot, and this researcher I took there, her name is Julia Ronan. Y'all remember that name? She's
Hi,
good.
Julia.
Very, very smart lady. Very smart lady. I took her there, and where this road crew was, you can't see through all these trees because you're looking at least 150 yards through dense trees. They off the highway right there where this creek was. There's no way where this Bigfoot was could it see that road crew. And I showed her right where the road crew was, and she was like, "Yep, nope, yep, you're right. There's no way it could see it. There's no way." But could this Bigfoot this Monday morning at 9:35 a.m. There wasn't much traffic at all on a Monday morning on this Highway 84. I've been asked, "What do you think it was right there on the side of the highway?" And I don't know. And there's been a lot of suggestions that have come out. Was there a roadkill there? Did this thing chase down a snake? Did it chase down a rabbit? I don't know why it was there, but it was there. And why it was there, I don't know. Who knows? When I went back a month later, there was nothing there. So it could have, I don't know. And why it was on the side of the highway. But I do believe that it was squatted down with its back to me and its attention. It could probably hear that road crew. It couldn't see them, but it could hear them. And then all of a sudden, behind him, 6/10 of a mile, he heard my 18-wheeler come over the rise on the highway. And he tried to lay down, and he moved to the right, and he stopped. And I do believe he did a spider crawl. I sent you a picture, an animated picture of a Bigfoot down in a spider crawl. A lot of witnesses there. If they take that position, I think he was trying to lay down in the grass, and the grass just wasn't high enough. And because this is a big guy, and he realized that. I think he tried to do a spider crawl and heard me coming, and then realized the grass ain't deep, and he got up and he walked. He headed for the tree line. And like I said, he stepped over this privacy fence into private property. I wished I'd have saw that. And he had an attitude. He got caught in the open. I think his attention was on that work crew, and he heard me coming. And those were the moves that he made that made me think black bull, black hawk, and then big guy. Closer I got, Arctic suit. Nope, not a man, not an Arctic suit. Bigfoot. Boom. And that's just kind of how it happened. And when he got to the tree line, y'all, and I've said this, when he hit that tree line, as I'm going by, and I'm looking at him, and I'm in shock and awe, he just disappeared like smoke. And what I mean by that is he blended in so fast and so well into those dark woods. My brain didn't see it, but I don't remember him pushing any limbs out of the way or brushing. He just blended right into the shadows.
Yeah.
That was it. And we all know about animal camouflage. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unreal. If things do not move, we do not see them. Charlie Raymond puts on one hell of a presentation about animal camouflage. Um, but he blended in. So, and that's an image in my head, the way he did that. I'll never get out of my head either. It was amazing. And I went by the work crew after this event happened. And I noticed, I seen the guys in the truck, in the trailer with the wood chipper on it. And I got maybe not even a mile down the road. And I had the wherewithal to look at my watch. And it was almost 9:37 a.m. And I thought, I saw this at 9:35 a.m. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, it was unreal. It was breathtaking. Like I said, it was intimidating to know that's there. And my brains, you can only, I can't even tell you, scrambled eggs. I had to go to Coleman. I had to go to Coleman. I had to deliver fuel. And I remember I was like shaking. Yeah, I was excited. I was shaking. I couldn't believe what I just saw. And I get to Coleman and I've got to deliver this fuel. You know, you got to put this fuel in the ground. And I had unlead, I had diesel, I had premium gasoline. I had three different types of fuel that have to go in the ground at these stores, you know. And I didn't mix them. I didn't commingle them. I put unlead in the unlead and diesel in the diesel. I didn't do the opposite, man. Got it done. Got my paperwork signed because I'm going back to Abilene. I was going back to Abilene to get a load to take back down to San Angelo. So I'm going back to Abilene and I'm trying to hurry. I'm trying to get my paperwork signed because I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going to look. I'm going to look. I'm going to see them. I'm going to look for them. And I was so amped up, y'all. And the closer I got everything done, got everything done correctly, which was amazing. Um, the closer I got to this area, I slowed it down. And I was probably doing 35, 40 miles an hour at the most. I put my hazards on, my flashers, my four-way flashers on my big rig. And I'm heading for Abilene, right? I'm getting back close to this area, and I am, and I'm looking. And uh, and I do talk about this. I used to, it always gives me the willies even today. It is what it is I got within a mile of where I saw this thing on the right hand shoulder. I passed the sheriff's vehicle and he was on the shoulder and he was doing, 15, 20 miles an hour. He was driving slow. And I went by him. Of course, I got my four-way hazards on. And just a little ways up the road, here came another sheriff's vehicle on the shoulder heading back toward Coleman. And shortly after him was another one. And I've described it. It looked like they were looking for escaped prisoners. This is in the area right here where I saw it, y'all. I am not the only one that saw this thing that day. And people have said, do you think the road crew saw it? Or I don't know who else saw it, but somebody did. Somebody called the law. And I hate talking about that with the sheriffs. It's the truth. So I'm going to tell the truth. But I'm afraid one day they're going to knock on my door like, Mr. Matt, would you please quit bringing us up in this? No, I won't, because I'm telling what I saw. It was an
Right.
event. It was a life-changing event. And then I got through this area, of course, never saw another thing. And I did that particular load, many times over the next year or so after that, quite a few times. And I always look. Every time I go that way, I'm always looking. And anyway, so the excitement. And I was asked, how long, because when this happened, it changed my life in a microsecond. It did.
Mm-hmm.
It shot me down this rabbit hole. And I promise you, I'll never try to crawl out. I do this every day. You can ask my siblings, you can ask my friends, my family. I do this every day to some degree. I'm doing something Bigfoot every day. And because you want to learn more, you're never going to learn enough once you've seen them. And I want to hear people's stories. I want to know their situations. I want to know what they saw, and I want to hear them describe them. And it's just, it changed my life in a microsecond. And back in March, I became an investigator with Kentucky Bigfoot via Charlie Raymond, and very proud of that. And then just literally a month and a half later, I became an investigator and researcher with Squatching Florida with Mike Aguilar,
Hmm.
Christina Lawhorn, We got a great team. There's 8. I'm a standing member of Squatching Florida, and I'm very proud of it, y'all. Uh, uh, I've sent Mike a lot of stuff and Charlie Raymond and that, my findings here, because I do. I get in the woods and I go looking. And I do want to see them again. And I've talked about it. I want to see him. I didn't see his face. I saw the side of his face. I want to see him face on. I want to see what everybody's talking about, because they say there's a human look to them, that they have almost like a human face. Some people describe kind of Neanderthal or Indian or even Aborigine. Yeah, even Aborigine look to their face. People that have had these really close encounters, which I'd have a heart attack and die if I was that close to one. The descriptions, they're like humans. You know, all these different descriptions of them. And some people say straight up, they look like a gorilla in the face, you know. So, you know, if you think about that, if you take an Aborigine from Australia, stand him up next to a little Taiwanese guy from Taiwan, there's a huge difference in what you're looking at.
Sure.
Skin color, bone structure, everything. So these things are different too. And they're on every continent on the planet except Antarctica. You know, the oral history and the ancient history of these things go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 years. 10,000 years in China, the Yeren. They call it the Yeren in China. In Australia, this the Yowie. In South America, it's the Orang Pendek. In Russia, it's the Yeti. There's a history that goes back, and you can look the Native American Indians here. You can go back over 2,000 years and look at the petroglyphs on the walls in Arizona, and they're all drawing the same thing, y'all. They're all describing this giant, hairy, wild man of the woods. And Sasquatch, that is the proper name for Bigfoot, and for me. I say Bigfoot because it's a name that we all know, we've all heard growing up.
Yeah.
Sasquatch, yeah, the Salish, it's the Salish Indian word, but it's kind of repronounced. The guy that was documenting that back in the 1800s couldn't pronounce it or spell it, Sasquatch or something. Sasquatch. Okay, I'm good with that. Now I lean into the Native American culture too, on what they saw, because these traditional people. They're amazing. We're proud. I am so proud they are part of this country. Beautiful people, and they're and that's every continent. You know, there's a history of them that go back thousands of years in the caves and in the petroglyphs and the pictoglyphs. They go back thousands of years, and like I said, they're on every continent on the planet except Antarctica, and even trees don't grow in Antarctica. So,
So,
and which
Matt,
is great.
I want to ask you something
Sorry.
really quick. Like, no, you brought up a really interesting point, right? Like, we know that it's been in the history. Like, we know Native Americans have documented it. We know other people have documented it. So you bring up a very interesting point, first of all, and then another thing. Why do you think, right? Like that there are definitely skeptics out there, um, and definitely skeptics are going to say, well, what's your proof? I mean, you saw something. It could have been, people always try to, debunk what you saw or what people who've had these experiences have seen. What is your biggest, I guess, thing that people say to you? And then how do you combat that? Like, what, I know that you're like, oh, I know what I've seen. I know that other people have seen this, but what, I
Absolutely.
guess, would be your answer for that?
How do I drive that point home?
Yeah, I
How do
guess
I
so.
drive that point home?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Okay. And they're real simple. They're real simple points. From what I saw that day, and we all know this, bears. Bears don't have shoulders, y'all. Bears don't have shoulders. Bears don't have arms with hands. I didn't see the fingers. I've talked about that. I don't know if it had closed hands when it was walking. I didn't see fingers, or at least my brain didn't take a picture of that. People, because a lot of people say that these things are, they're mistaken for bears. They're mistaken for other people. No, no, no. This thing was 3 times the size of a human, a big human. It was 3 times the size of a human, covered in hair, no clothes. whatsoever. It had shoulders. It had muscles. Its arms, like I said, were as big as my chest, and its legs were bigger than its arms. This thing was huge. That's not human. And it's not. And it was not human. And and that's okay. If people say, well, maybe you just misidentified what you saw. There wasn't no mistaking what I saw, y'all. Not for almost a minute, this whole event, but that last 22, 23 seconds, I knew what I was looking at. And I used to use the word creature, and I feel like that's disrespectful. I shouldn't use that word, and I haven't used that word in a long time. I called it a beast because it scared the shit out of me. It was big. It did. And I want to see the face, and that's part of my drive as a researcher. I want to see them. I want to see this species as many times as I can. We all do. It's a labor of love. I went out this morning with Julia Ronan. I went to Abilene, Texas this morning. I drove almost 2 hours to get to this research area of hers there, and it's a labor of love. It about wore my butt out, y'all. It was hot. It was muggy. She'll tell you, and thick woods. But you get in there and you do it. But at the end of the day, you get out in the woods and you're living your life. Most of the time you go and you come out of there with a goose egg. You don't find anything. Me and Julia didn't find anything today. Well, we did find one little thing. She puts out these jars of peanut butter. Okay, she's got the lid on them and everything. Okay, and she perches it up in this tree at about the 6 foot level or so. And okay, so you can get raccoons and stuff like that. That can knock them down and whatever. And she's been doing this for a couple of years too with this peanut butter. She's had a lot of success. Um, and the peanut butter was gone. We looked that whole area. That peanut butter jar was completely gone. A lot of researchers put out peanut butter because these Bigfoot, it's just a flavor they lean into. They'll lean into. Uh, I heard this one. A lot of people don't realize this. I sure didn't. Uh, Bananas. They don't have luck with bananas with them. Okay. And there's a deal. Man-made bananas don't have seeds. Real bananas have seeds, y'all. And people that use real bananas have luck with them.
That's
Researchers that are
interesting.
listening, remember that. Real bananas, not the ones you buy at the store. If you know anybody that's got a banana tree, pick them, open them up, look in there. They're seeds. There is. It's amazing. And people have success with that. They have success. People, there was another podcast I did. We talked about the walnuts. And out in this research area I met out here less than an hour from San Angelo, lots of walnut holes. And there's a lot of documented cases where property owners that have walnut groves have chased these Bigfoot out of their property. And I'm like, do they realize they're chasing Bigfoot? But they'll come in there. They do. They like them. And walnuts, they do. They have a nutritional value. They taste good. Something we talked about in this podcast, and it made a lot of sense. Now I'm like, okay. And Julia Ronan, I probably walked by these walnut holes, not the shells, the hole that they come out of. She was finding them. She found quite a few. That was here at my research area, my hot spot. And that's where the handprint came from, by the way. And she started finding these walnut holes. And how many times have I walked by those just looking for tracks and sign? And anyway, so that was my event with Bigfoot on Highway 84. Yeah,
So
May
I
20th.
actually really like that, Matt. I think that is a very compelling story.
Yeah.
Everybody that we've had other people that are Bigfoot researchers on here, and they all kind of say the same thing, where they know what they saw, and I believe you know what you saw. Uh, Before our program started, the question that I've always asked people is where do they go? Do they ship times? You mentioned that they might be underground creatures.
I do. And thank you, Gabriel. A lot of people have different opinions, and of course, we don't know. We don't
Right.
know.
Well, it's part of the
And
mystery.
all we
Yeah.
can do, yes, all we can do is theorize. I know what I saw, period,
Mhm.
was a living, breathing creature. And, there's a lot, there's been a lot of, I've heard a lot of discussions about infrasound. And in the natural world, there's many animals that have infrasound, tigers and lions, uh, whales and elephants, giraffes. Even gorillas have a level of infrasound, and it's measurable infrasound. Some animals stronger than others, and it's believed that they use it to disorient their prey, uh, to stun them. I've actually got a witness testimony out in East Texas. I'll be trying to video witness this group, where one came into these pigs, but before it made contact, these pigs just kind of got jacked up, and a couple of them fell over. And as it came in on them, it's like the effect hit them as it got there. Kind of a cool story. I've got to get this recorded. It's like it hit them with infrasound. Uh, and so, uh, in that story, this came from East Texas, down in the Sabine River bottoms. And Grandpa Wayne, this group, they were part of a hunting party, okay, part of a hunting group. And on a 10,000 acre hunting plot, that was amongst 3 different hunting parties. So these people had 4,000 of the 10,000 acres to hunt on. That's a lot of land. Well, Grandpa Wayne, older man, he was raised in the East Texas Piney Woods, rough customer, ex-military. Those East Texas people, don't piss them off. They'll come at you. They don't play out there. They're tough people, and they're God-loving, God-fearing people too. I love them all, every one of them I've ever met. But Grandpa Wayne was old school, and he went deeper into that 4,000 acres, into those Sabine River bottoms than the other hunters in his club. And he had a tree stand. And now I've told this story before, and it's amazing. I actually told this story to Dr. Maria Mayer, and she listened. She was like, because I had questions for her on this. And Grandpa Wayne was up in his tree stand, and he was sitting about 100 yards on this hog trail that he hunted. That was Grandpa Wayne's area. None of the other hunters went in there. Grandpa Wayne probably kick your butt if he caught you in there hunting off his stand. But he would go in there, and every year he would get trophy bucks. He went into the deepest part of the Sabine River bottoms, and he'd get hogs. He loved hunting hogs. And he always liked getting the 200-300 pound hogs. That was his thing. So he's up in this tree stand, and he's got his rifle with him. And I can't remember what they said it was. We'll find out. It was a 308 or a 30-30. I can't remember. High caliber rifle for hunting. And he's looking, he's watching this game trail, and to the right, about 50 yards to the right of this hog trail, in the brush, he noticed something black kind of moved. And he pulled his rifle up, the scope, and all he could see in the brush was black hair. So Grandpa Wayne thought it was probably a black bear, because they will come down into East Texas from Arkansas and Louisiana. They will. They're not a lot, but they will. And they have been documented there. So Grandpa Wayne thought it was a black bear. So he lowered his rifle and watching the game trail. And all of a sudden, these hogs bust out of the brush onto the hog trail. And Grandpa Wayne said, they got to get this video, Joe. He said that this black hair thing lowered a little bit, and it made 3 bounds, 3 leaps, like a bullfrog. He said its arms were out in front of it, and just before hitting the ground, it would tuck its legs under it and hit again on all fours. He said like a bullfrog. He said it covered 50 yards in 3 leaps. That's 16 to 17 yards per leap. And then that 3rd leap, just as it came into the hogs, that's when the hogs were all hit with something. This is an old man, and this is what he said he saw. And then this Bigfoot, he said it was, in the end, he said it was 8 foot, jet black. He said when it came into the hogs that it picked up 2 different 300-pound hogs, and it slammed them against a tree.
Wow.
2 of them. He said that he reached down and it grabbed these hogs by the hind legs and picked them up and was walking back to the woods. The way the hogs came out of walking back to the woods, he said it looked like you or me would be carrying a pair of suitcases. It's like this thing had done this 1,000 times. But before it hit the wood line, Grandpa Wayne said that it turned, and this man don't know nothing about Bigfoot either. He said it turned at the waist mostly, and he said it looked at me. It knew Grandpa Wayne was up in that tree stand. He said it turned, it looked at me, and he said he looked into the scope of my rifle and into my eyes and into my soul. And Grandpa Wayne said it turned and went on into the trees. He came out of that tree stand. It's a man who grew up hunting in the East Texas piney wood. He came out of that tree stand and he left and he never went back in. It scared that man so bad. He said that Bigfoot looked at him into his soul through the scope of his rifle. That was a Bigfoot. And I asked Dr. Maria Mayer. I told her the story, and she's listening. What a wonderful, intelligent lady.
Yeah, she is.
What a wonderful lady. Oh my God. Wow. Anyway,
Trying to think for my mom, so I always appreciate her.
yes.
Because my mom is a huge fan.
I am too. Tell your mom. Well, Matt Lankford, he's a huge fan of Dr. Maria Mayer. We all are.
You know
Very
that
smart lady.
every time we mention my mom in the show, she owes people $20.
Hi, Mom.
Go. Hi, Mom.
Oh gosh, $60.
I told Dr.
Matt,
Dr. Maria Mayer.
as a researcher, Raven has some other images that you shared with her. Raven, can you pull those up so we can kind of see some of that?
Yeah, I sure can. So
You
actually,
can. Oh, and real quick, before we go to the pictures, I'll make this real quick. So I did tell Dr. Maria Mayer the story, and she was listening very intently, but I had a question for her because I did, after hearing this story, and Grandpa Wayne passed away, but this is from a couple of different gentlemen that was part of that hunting club. That's what I'm going to video witness. These are firsthand witnesses to Grandpa Wayne's story. That I asked Dr. Maria Mayer, okay, because I looked that up. An adult male gorilla reaches 5.5 to 6 foot in height. An adult male gorilla. And Grandpa Wayne said 8 foot. Okay. So that's very important here. Grandpa Wayne said it covered, probably 50 yards and 3 bounds. That's 16 or 17 yards per leap. I asked Dr. Maria Mayer. And if you look it up, an adult male gorilla can bound 32 feet. It's just over 10 yards in one bound. I asked Dr. Maria Mayer, in all your years in primatology, have you ever seen a male gorilla make multiple bounds just like that? Boom, 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 like this thing did, according to Grandpa Wayne. And she said, no, she hadn't ever witnessed that. And I said, do you think it's possible? And she said, I don't know. But her eyebrow went up. So if something 5.5, 6 foot tall can go over 10 yards, can an 8 foot something go 16 or 17? Kind of adds a little credence to that story from a man who knew nothing about Bigfoot, but this was his story. Pretty cool, huh?
That's
I
great.
think
Pretty
it's
cool.
actually very, very fascinating.
It is.
Raven, show some of these pictures.
So
Please.
What I
wanna
like
show-
about these is that it's actually hard evidence. Now, I, being a skeptic, like hard evidence because it's something
Yes,
that I
sir.
can look at and try to understand what it is. So
There it
what are we
is.
looking at here, Matt?
What you're looking at, this handprint I had mentioned earlier about this hot spot that's, less than an hour from where I live here in Central Texas. I've been working this property since January. The third week in March 21st, I found my first tracks on this property. I was alerted there by the property owner, who's also a Bigfoot witness from 1976, y'all. October will be 50 years. He let me onto this property. He gives me full access to this almost 500 acres of beautiful private property. There's half a mile of river that runs through this property. There's a mountain on it. It's heavily wooded. I've been researching this area, and I got my first set of tracks. They were 13-inch tracks. I have found multiple trackways, a lot of tracks on this property. Almost every time I go out, not every time, but almost every time I go out, I find new tracks somewhere on this property and these trackways. And these are 13-inch tracks. This is the very first track I found in 2021. I'm sorry. If you can go back to the handprint, I'll get back to that handprint. And there's actually a couple of pictures of that, Raven. That's a big print, y'all. But Raven, put up the print with my hand next to it. Look at the size of that, y'all. Look at the size of that palm that was left on my truck by what I think is a female. And I got a half-second look at her May 17th. The property owner was with me. He got just a blur look at her. And I believe it's a female. because of her 13-inch tracks. And I also have a trackway of of small prints, 7.5 by 3.5 inch prints that are flat with a mid-tarsal break. I believe I have a female and a young one. And that, I believe, is the hand of the track maker, the female. She come up and touched my truck. That was on April 19th, on a Sunday, 2 weeks after a tree structure, because they do tree structures, y'all. A lot of researchers know that. We don't know what they mean. They always leave an X. We don't know what that means. Most of us think it means, hey, don't come any further, you know. But who knows? And then they do other stuff within the X. We don't know if it's some kind of a language to some degree. I don't know. I just know they're fascinating. When this tree structure went up on a Thursday, property owner called me on or sent me the picture on Friday. And I was out there first thing Saturday morning. And when I walked up on that tree structure, took my breath away. And these limbs were not tree fall. There's a picture I sent you, Ray. I don't know if you can bring it up of that tree structure. It was amazing. And it's not tree fall because the trees that it's in, it's kind of like the trees right next to it. These limbs were brought there. They were brought there. And these tree structures, Gabriel, they come up all over the country. They come up all over the planet. They find tree structures in Australia and China and Russia. There's a reason. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is.
Do you have those
Don't know
pictures
what it
ready?
is.
I
It's the only
did.
tree structure
I
I've
do.
ever
It's
come
actually
up
in
on.
the beginning video, but I don't have a screenshot of that.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
you did show it at the beginning.
Yep.
It's
just showed at
amazing
the
tree
beginning. You'll
structure.
have to rewatch the video.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
and so 2 weeks after the tree structure is when the handprint went on. I had worked that area where the tree structure was. When I come in on this private property, where I park my truck, almost every time, I'm about 100 yards from this river, this moving river. Okay. This river comes from underground. It's crystal clear water. It's an underground aquifer. And this man has like half a mile of it going through his property. This river runs for about 30 miles or more. Um, and so I park my truck. I'm about 100 yards from the river. The river's kind of downhill through the woods, but you can see the river. And from the river, you can see my truck up there in the woods. Um, I had worked the passenger side of my truck in the woods. This is 2 weeks after the tree structure went up.
mhm.
And I had worked it the very next weekend, that whole area of woods. So that particular day, April 19th, I worked the passenger side of my truck real briefly, didn't find anything new, whatever. Worked my way down to the river, which is now down in front of my truck. And then I end up working down the river at least another 500 yards down the river and up into the woods, just looking for sign, looking for tracks, things that we do. And so I was on the driver's side of my truck. I was down there for at least an hour and a half, and then didn't find anything. It was one of those days you're leaving your research area with a goose egg. I was disappointed. I was hoping to find new tracks again. Didn't. That's okay, because you're still out in the woods, no matter how you look at it. So I come walking back up on the pasture side of my truck, and the property owner had went down that way with me when this all happened. Him and his dog, he's got a great German Shepherd, Joe. They follow me. They follow me through the woods, and we're talking and we're listening, and he's real interested too. But he's a cancer survivor, y'all. This man had 3%
Really?
chance of living. Yeah,
Wow.
very, 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 very Christian man. A good friend of mine. Amazing, amazing man. Um, so he was with me that day down that driver's side of my truck. And whenever I was doing the passenger side and down in front of my truck to the river in the woods, he was over on the driver's side back over there at his cabin area. He also has COPD. But once I got down in front of the cabin area, down at the river in front of the cabin area, he come down there with the dog, and then they just kind of followed me in. We went about 500 yards for an hour and a half. We came up on the driver's side of my truck, and I put my shotgun, my 44 in the back, and shook his hand. And I said, well, guess I'll try it again next weekend. He said, okay, and got my truck. And I left, and he always followed me out to lock the gates and behind us, because this is a very secluded, beautiful private property. It's heaven, y'all. Um, and when I was leaving, there's a road that cuts through this property. And I was going kind of slow, but I was driving, and my tires were kicking up all this dust. I was in this ball of dust, just the speed I was going, the way the wind was for 50 or 100 feet, I finally sped up and got out of the dirt. He was back there behind me quite a ways. He didn't have to deal with this ball of dirt my truck created, but it was that dust. It was that dust that adhered to the oils, that adhered to the sebum,
Yeah.
the surface skin lipids of every mammal on Earth leave. She came up and she touched my truck, and I didn't even know it. I got home. And I parked, and it was on a Sunday, and I remembered, crap, didn't check my mail on Saturday, so I walked to the mailbox. I come walking back up to my truck on the passenger side, and I got to looking, and I was like, what the hell is that? What's that between my windows on the passenger side? I started getting closer, and I started realizing it's a handprint. And I'm walking up to me, I'm realizing how big it is, and I'm like, oh my God! And I got up there, and I put my hand up there, and this is a true story, y'all. This is how it went. I started putting my hand up there, and I was like, oh, Heavenly Father, oh my God, she touched my truck. And I knew, and you can see the print. You can see how huge that is. That is not a human print,
Huge.
people.
Oh, do it again.
No.
That's
And there
huge.
are indicators. Look at the size of that palm. And there are indicators in this print, several indicators that show gorilla. People may not want to hear that, but we're finding them. And then, like I said, I'm working collectively with Doug Highcheck, and I actually went to my local law enforcement. Okay, now this is where I lifted the print because I had rain coming. After I saw this print on my truck, we had thunderstorms coming. And I remember I could smell the rain, and I'm looking at this print, and I videoed and I took pictures, and I'm like, oh, is this print's just going to wash off forever? So I ran in the house, and I was grabbing whatever I could, and I grabbed 2-inch clear boxing tape like you do cardboard boxes with.
Mm-hmm.
And I grabbed that, and I was like, I got to put these on something, right? Once I pull it, I got to put it on something. So I grabbed a 1-gallon Ziploc baggie, because the front side of a Ziploc baggie, you can read Ziploc in that, but if you turn it around, the back side, it's just clear plastic.
Right.
And I was like, out I went. Out I went. And it took 3 of those strips, y'all, to capture that whole print.
That's
It was a
amazing.
big hand.
That is
And
a big
I peeled them. Yeah. And I laid the Ziploc baggie on the hood of my truck. And mind you, I can smell the rain, right? It's coming. I laid the baggie on the hood of my truck, and it was just the way I was parked. The wind wasn't blowing the Ziploc baggie, thank God, off onto the ground.
Hmm.
But I pulled those, and then I laid them on that Ziploc baggie on the backside. And if you pull up that picture again, if you can zoom it in, you can see the detail. You'd have thought I worked for the FBI, Gabriel. I got it. I
No,
captured it,
that's
and
pretty
I pulled it
impressive,
off.
Matt. It's
It,
not
it
bad,
was
brother. It's not bad.
If you can zoom that up, and I guess people at home might be able to, you can see the detail. There's actually 3 strips here, the way the lighting hit this one picture. I send this one because that right side of that back side of the Ziploc baggie, you can see the detail really well. There's just a lot of features in there. And I showed this print in Kentucky at the end of May to Dr. Maria Mayer. She was very intrigued with it, and I showed it to Lindsay Raymond, Charlie Raymond's wife. Charlie's wife is actually a retired fingerprint expert analysis for the Canadian law
That's
enforcement.
cool.
Charlie Raymond's wife, Lindsay, yeah, very
We're the
super
friends with her
intelligent
now.
lady. Yes, yeah, yes. And so
That's
I
cool.
went to the VIP dinner on Friday night, and I knew I'd have the opportunity to show this print to Lindsay and to Dr. Maria Mayer. And I was showing Lindsay both of them, but I was showing Lindsay on my phone these pictures that I sent to you. And she just like took my phone out of my hand. She was like, give me your phone, Matt. Come here. Come here. She got right up next to me, and she's blowing up my phone and zooming in and zooming out. And she's like, no, like this part here. Yes. This is like, you can see the ridges and the swirls and the loops in the print. And she goes, but Matt, this part, this here, she kept going through my phone. She's like, this, Matt, this ain't human, Matt. This part, yes, this looks human. Matt, this don't look it. I know, lady.
Yeah.
I know what touched my truck. I know what touched my truck. And so, and I've been told, and I don't know how true it is, I really don't have any affirmation to it. I've been told that this print and the significance behind it, when I lifted the print, before I go any further, I've been asked, was there any residue left on my truck? Any of the oil? Was there a greasy area?
Sure.
Nope. The tape took everything. It just left a clean spot on my truck. And I have a theory to that. Because if I was down, this was a hot day, y'all, on April 19th. Sun was out, the whole 9 yards. I'm an hour and a half, 500 yards on the driver's side of my truck. Did she come up and touch it? Maybe when I was down in front of my truck or started moving that way with the property owner? Did those oils bake on my truck? All that time I was down in the woods, came up and left. And when that dust hit, was there enough oil to grab and show the print? When I lifted it, that those oils were already kind of baked onto my paint. And when I used that tape, that type of tape, it pulled everything. There was no greasy spot left. There was none of the sebum left on my truck. It was just a clean spot. So it's all in there. It's all in there.
Matt,
I've been told that
amazing.
That
This
is
is an amazing
absolutely
story.
amazing.
it's
You,
amazing. It's
I
amazing.
want to say though,
Another amazing moment.
you've had such experiences and you've captured such evidence and I think that we could have you talk for probably forever because you've
Yes,
gone on and you've become part of, a couple of different organizations. You're doing so much now with the Bigfoot community. You have all of
Compelling
these
speaker,
amazing,
absolutely.
yes, amazing.
yeah.
However,
I welcome.
what I want to do is, well, I think we could go back for a part two for sure.
Oh,
Because I would
absolutely.
love
Absolutely.
to have you come back again on the show. Your experience has been incredible. And I don't know. I'm 100% believer. I know Gabriel's a skeptic. I don't know what he thinks right now, but
Well, as a skeptic, Raven, I'm impelled to learn more. So just like in the
Yes, sir.
paranormal, as we search things, being a skeptic, I think, is very healthy because
it is.
it keeps you engaged in wanting to know more. And we will never have the answers for any cryptozoology. That's what
No.
people. That's why we have great investigators like Matt here. And I
Mhm.
loved his story because it gave me hope that there's still mystery in this world. And I think having mystery in this world is what appels a lot of people to continue on, helps us continue doing shows like this because we search something. And
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
Matt, you are onto something. And I wish you nothing but luck trying to continue on finding those
Yeah.
pieces of evidence and bringing it to people like myself that are skeptic to make us believers. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. And
Yeah.
and that's kind of my deal too, because I'm just telling it like it is. I'm just telling what I've
Love
been
that.
through, what I'm doing, and with that print, like I said, I was told, and I don't know how much. Uh, I can't put any real weight behind it myself. It was just told to me by several now that handprint is being looked at in Russia and Australia and China right now, and that University of North Carolina State is showing interest in it. And so, but I am working collectively with Doug Hycheck. We need to talk about Doug Hycheck here a little bit too, y'all, because I've been running an experiment for him. I don't know how much time we got on this show. You got to
We
watch
have
me.
another
I can
about
talk
five
all
minutes.
night.
If you want to kind of compress that, we'd love to hear it.
It's the Snell Grove hum. A lot of researchers around the country know that I'm doing it, and a lot of researchers. There's a hum. The best way to describe it is like hummingbird wings right next to your ear, if you can imagine that sound. Another
Absolutely.
person has described it like a lightsaber from Star Wars. That
Yep.
woo, that sound.
Vroom, vroom.
Okay, well, Doug Hycheck has sent me a couple of these recordings. He's sending me more, and I'm playing them. I'm playing them. I'm playing them on a Bluetooth speaker out in the woods. This, these hums, Doug Hycheck has about 85 of them that have come from all over North America and Canada. That researchers are putting out audio recorders, and they've been hearing this hum for years, and nobody really knew what it was in the beginning when it started getting noticed by a man named Tristan. Great dude. Uh, he recorded it, and people thought it was a grouse, the bird, making
Sure.
this,
Mm.
but it's not. And this sound is also being sent to Doug Hycheck. He's like, so he's got about 85 different recordings from all over North America, and they're coming from Bigfoot hotspots. So there's a relation there. And so Doug has sent me, he goes to Snell Grove, Canada. And he told me, he's like, Matt, you come to Minnesota. He goes, you get on a float plane and you fly for 3 hours over the Canadian wilderness and you land on Snell Grove Lake. And they drop you off for a week and a half or two at this cabin. And Doug has been able to record a lot of this Snell Grove. He calls it the Snell Grove hum. And he has sent those to me, playing them on the Bluetooth speaker, playing them on my phone when I'm out in the woods. What's coming out of central Canada, and I've also got a recording out of North Texas from the Sales Ranch from the 1980s from Carl Supp. These came from a VHS tape, and it's the same freaking sound, y'all, from the 1980s off of a VHS cassette tape. Carl Supp was able to finally get that out of the tapes. And I'm playing them down here in Central Texas, man. We're going to see what reaction. But Julia Ronan was with me, and we played them all over this private property where I got the handprint, all the tracks, where I saw the female property owner saw her. The, we're playing the hum, and when you're playing it, all the animals are quiet, y'all. Everything shuts up, and then you wait. And during that day, because Bigfoot will communicate with wood knocks, a lot of researchers will tell you they do. They let each other know where they're at. They do. And me and Julia Ronan got wood knocks. We got, go ahead,
I love
Gabriel.
that
Sorry.
piece of evidence. That's wonderful.
It's a major thing.
I absolutely. And
It's
the
major.
sound is amazing. I like that. And I think that's a perfect
Yeah.
place to stop. We got to have you back, Matt, because we could
I'll be
go
back.
on forever, brother. All this information that for somebody like me is first time hearing, I have to
Yeah.
digest all this. This is fantastic.
Okay.
Would you
Okay.
would you mind coming on one more time in the future so we could just kind of compress all this stuff? It's just
One time more.
amazing the research you put into this.
Brother, you can bring me back half a dozen times and I may not be done. Yes. I'll come back anytime you want. Y'all get with me. Let me look at my calendar. And
Yeah,
I've got some more podcasts I'm doing. I've done quite a few, and I'm going to keep doing them because in the end, Gabriel, look at you, the skeptic. It's got you
the
thinking, buddy,
skeptic
and
brother
that's what it's all about.
starting to wanting
That's all we
more.
need to
Yeah,
do.
It's what
Make
it's all
them
about.
think.
And this species is real. And for me, like I said, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it face on. I do. I may never find another track. Every researcher out there will tell you, yeah, I may never find another new track ever in all the places I go, or never
keep
see
on
them again.
searching, man. Keep on
But
searching.
I've seen them twice. I've been
Yeah,
blessed twice. I will never stop. And I've said it. We have a choice in life. Everybody, get busy living or get busy dying. Get out in the
absolutely.
woods. Go do what, chase your heart. Chase your
Yeah.
heart. Because I know when I'm 85 years old, I'm not going to say I wished I would have. I'm doing it, and I ain't going to stop till God tells me I can't physically or mentally do it no more. I'm going to keep doing this.
Amen, Matt.
And I love the people, everybody I've met, even y'all, and everybody in this Bigfoot community that I have met. Everybody has been so kind. It's
Yeah.
been such a blessing. I call it my Bigfoot thing, y'all, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Changed my life. How little did I know seeing a Bigfoot would put me here today like it is now. And I love it. I just love it. I've got some great friends out there, and they're watching. They know. I can't
Well,
start naming them. That's another show, y'all.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for your sharing your incredible experiences, your
Yes, sir.
years of research, and your passion for seeking answers. Whether you believe Bigfoot is undiscovered species, a misunderstood legend, or simply one of the world's greatest mysteries, we hope tonight's conversation encourages you to keep an open mind and continue asking questions. A sincere thank you once again to our amazing sponsors, Unbox Media LLC for professional media production, business consulting, and storytelling. Dark Realm TV for bringing outstanding paranormal just like this to audiences everywhere. And don't forget, Shaker Cigar Bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Stop in, enjoy an incredible evening, and don't forget to tell Bob Darkwoods Paranormal sent you. If you enjoyed tonight's show and we found incredibly new things that I didn't know existed, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, share this episode. Your support allows us to continue bringing incredible guests like Matt, fascinating conversations from across the paranormal world. Matt, thank you once again for being here. Until next
Yes,
time, my
sir.
friend, I am Gabriel Von Graves. Alongside me is Raven Knight, and of course, our new friend Matt. Every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and the people like Matt we meet around the way. Stay curious,
Yes, sir.
stay aware, and stay safe out there. Matt, hold on for a few more seconds, and thank you for joining us here at Darkwoods Paranormal.
Thank you,
Sir.
everyone.
Thank